Hey, boys and girls, how are you? I have another book to read with you this morning, or it might be evening by the time you get to this, but it is our Q book. I went and grabbed it from school. Since we're working on the letter Q this week, I thought that I should read you a couple Q books, and this is the one for today. So we're talking about the Q sound, qua, qua. Can you make that noise? And what's really cool about Q is that Q almost always, has a partner in crime, the letter U. So almost every single time you see the letter Q in a word, you're going to see U right beside it. It's pretty fun. So they're always together. Okay, my Q book. Little Q had a box. I will find things that begin with the letter Q, she said. I will put them into my sound box. Little Q found quilts. Quilts. Quite a lot of quilts. Let's count them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 2 quails watched her quietly. Now these are 2 birds that start with the letter Q. Quails. And how did they watch her? Quietly. Quietly starts with a Q. U. Quiet. Quietly. Little Q folded the quilts and filled her box with quilts. There was 1 quilt left. Look at what she did. Little Q wrapped the quilt around herself. I can be a queen, she said. Queen. Just then, little Q met a real queen. If you want to look like a real queen, you must have a crown, said the queen. So little Q decided to buy a crown. See her quails that are following her? Look, she has money throwing it up in the air. Those are coins, but they're quarters. Because quarter starts with a Q. Little Q went to a shop. Little Q bought a crown. The 2 queens played until they were hungry. Playing makes me hungry. Little Q went back to the shop. She bought some quinces and some quince jam. Now I had to look up what a quince was, and I found out that a quince is a type of fruit. It's yellow like a lemon, and a lot of times it's shaped like a pear or an apple. Who knew? Learn something new every day. Then she and the queen ate lunch. Little Q put what was left into her box. I think they had quince jam sandwiches. They say it's really sweet. Then little Q said, "It's late. Let's go to bed." No, said the queen. A real queen must have a queen's bed. Look how fancy that queen's bed is. Little Q was quite sad. She had no more money, and now she could not buy a queen's bed. Then little Q saw her box with all the quilts inside. What do you think she did with it? I will turn my box into a queen's bed, she said. Then little Q put a quilt on top of the box. I bet you guys do this at home. Making forts out of your blankets and quilts and pillows. Now let's go to bed, she said. She jumped into the box. No, said the real queen. So they began to quarrel. Quarrel is a fancy word for fight or disagree. That doesn't sound very nice, does it? They quarreled until quarter past 9. By then, the real queen was tired. So tired that she quit. Quit starts with a Q. So she jumped into the box with little Q. They pulled up the quilts and went to sleep. I think they stopped quarreling, don't you, and became friends again? So we got some Q words in here. We have quilt and queen and what else? What kind of money did she have? Do you remember those coins? What were they called? Quarters. Oh, do you remember the fancy fruit that we learned? Quince. Quince. And what other Q? Oh, what's the word that's not loud? What's the opposite of loud? Quiet. Quiet. Oh, and do you remember the birds? What kind of birds they are? They're quails. Quails. That's right. Okay, so you guys always know that at the very last page, they teach us some other words that go with our letter. And so here are some other Q words. This is a quartet. Quartet. That means there's 4 people singing. 1, 2, 3, 4. This, some of you might know, is a question mark. And these silly little symbols right there are called quotation marks. And those are used when you're reading a book and someone says something. See the little quotation marks? Right here, right here. And the queen said, no, no. That tells us someone is speaking when we're reading a book. This is not a test, but it's a quiz. Quiz. And these are quintuplets. Quin is a fancy word for 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And they all look alike, like twins, but they're quintuplets. Do you remember this? Quail. Quince. Oh, look. Is that a hedgehog? Those pointy things on the hedgehog. They're called quails. I'm sorry. They're called quills. Here's your quail. The pointy things are called quills. All right, boys and girls. So if you guys can come up with some Q words to tell someone about. Q words are a little harder to find around the house than a lot of other letters. But let your parents know that you know what Q sounds like. Qua, Q. All right? All right, I'll see you soon.